Big Lez's League, an all rugby league experience. Hello, welcome back to Big Lez's League, an all rugby league experience. I'm your host, Big Lez. We're going to be talking about all of the news that has come out over the past 24 to 48 hours across rugby league, even before that as well. Apologies that we haven't recorded too much content too throughout the week. We have been quite busy with work, setting up obviously off-season interviews as well. Speaking of, the Elijah Taylor interview is out now and live. 5K views already on YouTube, and it's only been out for the past week. So make sure you get stuck in to that great content. But let's get into some more great content here. And the first little news update that we've got is Ryan Papenhuyzen re-signing with the Melbourne Storm. And it is only a 1-year extension, which I guess raises a few eyebrows there. But I really like it. I think that, obviously Ryan Papenhuyzen staying with the Melbourne Storm, staying with that spine. You got to remember, Ryan Papenhuyzen in this spine has been injured quite a lot himself. But Hughes, Munster, Harry Grant out with origin duties and things like that. They haven't really had a chance to gel as a halves pairing. What they did last year was insane. To have them together for another full year, in fact, another 2 full years, I think it's going to be so good for all of them. And if they can all stay fit, it's going to be really beneficial for the Melbourne Storm. And they're going to go a long way to winning a premiership over the next 2 years as well. If all of those guys are fit, if all of those guys get to play with each other for 27 rounds, twice over for the next 2 seasons. Ryan Papenhuyzen, though, only a 1-year extension. It sort of does beg the question, is he going to go somewhere else? Is he going to go to another club? For me, I think it's a little bit too early to tell. Obviously, the Bulldogs were quite, strong and hard in the race for Ryan Papenhuyzen. So maybe they do get back in the race there and try and grab him. But as far as I'm concerned, I think we could see Ryan Papenhuyzen, especially if Melbourne go on to win a comp or two, maybe stick around with Melbourne. But it would be great for him to build his own legacy too. He's still very, very young. I think he's 25, 26 years of age, Ryan Papenhuyzen. So, around 27, 28 by the time he does get off contract again. I think that it'd be cool to see him go to a Bulldogs, a club that he went for growing up. And build a legacy over there as well. So great re-signing for the Melbourne Storm, but I guess the 1 year, it does sort of beg the question, is he going to go elsewhere in 2027? Now, another great update, obviously, in the NRL at the moment is the PNG. PNG will be the 18th team for the NRL moving forward. Love this for PNG. I think that they're going to build a really strong team, and with all of the tax benefits and stuff like that, it would be really enticing, for an NRL player or at least a young player looking to really stamp their mark, or someone that is trying to sort of push their way through, like a Jonah Pezzett, for example, or just one of those young guys that are trying to push their way through into first grade. Be a great opportunity for them to really stamp their mark on the NRL and prove that they're good enough in a sense. For example, Jonah Pezzett would go over there, potentially be their marquee signing as a halfback or something like that. But it'd be great for some young guys to really stamp their authority in the NRL and obviously make their mark, similar to what a lot of the guys have done at the Dolphins. For example, Max Plath going over there and obviously making his mark in that 13 jersey. We're talking about, and there's obviously been talks about Max Plath being an origin player going into 2025, depending on if Billy Slater wants to change the makeup of the team and things like that. So, we've seen already with the Dolphins, players really stamp their authority and leave their mark. Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow has established himself as a top grade fullback and centre, obviously playing origin since he's moved to the Dolphins as well. You've obviously got Herbie Farnworth, who's killing it over there at the moment. Isaiah Katoa in the number 7 jersey has been a real talking point of the NRL since going to the Dolphins, and obviously the Dolphins taking the risk on him to be that guy, and he looks like he's going to be the guy over there moving forward too in that number 7 jersey. But yeah, look, it'd be a great opportunity for these young guys who are trying to push first grade to get into a side and leave their mark. And be interesting to see, around that 2028 period, who their marquee signings would be. But yeah, look, certainly a huge, huge move, a huge needle mover as well. When we're talking about expanding the game, getting a side like PNG into the NRL, I think is huge. So really, really great news. And speaking of great news, the Tigers definitely got some great news last week with Terrell May signing with the West Tigers. I thought I already talked about this on the podcast. I guess I didn't do the reaction, or at least it didn't get out. But Terrell May to the Tigers, I love the signing. Looking at their forward pack now, Terrell May, Fanua Pole, Clemmer, Twal, Alex Seyfarth. They've got a really strong pack. Well, it's Big Samuela in the back row there as well. They've got a really strong pack going into next season. Royce Hunt obviously joins the pack next year as well. All of a sudden, you're looking at a side that it looks very strong. They have that leader in the pack that's established, and that not just a leader in the pack. They've obviously got experienced guys like Twal and Clemmer, but now they've got a leader in the pack for the future in Terrell May. And there's a few things that Terrell May still needs to fix up in his game. He had a huge season in 2024. Going into 2025, I cannot wait to see him just go to another level, and I think that's going to start for Terrell May with just how he hits the line. I think it's as simple as looking for impact first in the line rather than looking for offload first, because then he's just going to be even more dangerous. I think it's the only thing that really stopped him from being in the Origin arena in 2024. If he just looks to impact the line rather than going for the offload first, I think he just turns into a almost just 10 times a dangerous a player. Just with obviously having that strength, having that aggression in the line, and then once he busts tackles, once he gets through the line looking for that offload, he automatically just turns into a more dangerous player. So if he can go to that next level, Terrell May, he probably will play Origin. And, going to a side where he is the standout in the front row, I think that he's just going to go to another level and really, build on that pressure. And that's the hope, obviously. We can obviously see the reverse effect there with Terrell May, which I don't think is going to happen, but hopefully he thrives under the pressure. There's been plenty of reports coming out about Terrell May, and, maybe he doesn't want to play rugby league and sometimes he doesn't feel like being in there and things like that. And obviously those sort of comments maybe have deterred the Roosters and obviously caused this release in the first place. But, Terrell May at the Tigers with a lot of talent there, main guy in the front row. You've obviously got Jerome Luai, Sania Taruva, guys that he's been with before in that Penrith system. I really do like it. I think that he is going to thrive there under Benji as well. If Benji can get this side to work in 2025, they're going to be a monster team. And, if it's not this year, the next year or the year after, they will be close to a top 8 side for sure. So great move, Terrell May to the Tigers. Really like it and can't wait to see if it works for Benji in 2025 as well. Now, a big discussion point is AJ Brimson. What position is he going to play going into 2025? We've done a few podcasts on this, but there's been a lot of discussion about AJ Brimson. Is he going to be in the centres? Is he going to be in the halves? Is he going to be the fullback over Keano Kinney? Does he come off the bench? For me, it's quite simple. For me, I think that he has to be in the starting 13 somewhere. I think it's disrespectful to AJ Brimson with what he's been promised. Yes, I know that this really wasn't planned. AJ got injured. Keano Kinney comes in, he kills it. He's the New Zealand fullback now. It was unexpected, the rise of Keano Kinney, and obviously his rise came from AJ being injured in the first place, and it's just luck of the draw in that sense. But I think with the big deal that AJ signed right up until 2030 to be the main guy at fullback, I cannot see him sitting on the bench and being content coming off the bench too, going into the next few years. And look, I guess a positive in AJ's favour and in the Titans' favour as well, if he does get moved to the bench. We know how important that number 14, is now in the competition. Tyron Wishart, Connor Watson, Dylan Walker, just some examples. Kurt Mann, to an extent, Bailey Hayward over there at the Dogs. Just how important that 14 jersey has become for the top sides in the competition and for a lot of sides just in general in the competition, how important number 14 is. You could argue number 14 is just as important as every position in the starting 13 too. So I guess in the Titans' favour, that 14 jersey, they can spin it as it is a really important role. He can come on, he can have a huge impact. He can still play, 50 minutes odd and have a real impact. But where does he come into the game, AJ? That's the big thing for me. If you're going to have him at 14, where does he come into the game? Yeah, look, it looks good on the team list and, you're not going to get judged too much for having him in jersey number 14, but where does AJ come onto the field? Does he come on at lock? Does he come on in a bit of a roaming role there? Does he slot in the halves and one of the other guys moves out of there? For me, at least, I do not see him coming off the bench. I think that when you've, you know, he's signed on this big deal on pretty decent money. I do not think he'll be coming off the bench. I've got a pretty decent call here. And look, I know I'm going to get sledged in the comments for this one, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. For me, I think AJ Brimson could potentially sit at halfback going into 2025, or at least at one point in 2025, we might see AJ Brimson sit in the number 7 jersey. Obviously, Jaden Campbell is already in the 6. Your Keanu Kinney at fullback. Looking at the future and what the future looks like for the Gold Coast Titans, I wouldn't mind if Kieran Foran maybe moves to 9 and we see AJ go into the number 7. The Titans play that style of footy where I just think that could work. There's a realistic, we look at how the Titans play, that fast, enterprising football. I really do think that having AJ at 7, it could work. Kieran maybe swaps it around with Chris Randall. Chris Randall starts at 13. Kieran Foran starts at 9. They swap around a bit. So we can still direct the team in a sense and in that number 9 jersey. And obviously provide that counselling from 9 and direction. But, just Kieran being more of a mentor to AJ, and, by the end of 2025 or by the start of 2026, AJ's a halfback. Wouldn't mind it. You fit all of these guys into the 17. You don't have to lose anyone. Kieran Foran's going to probably retire at the end of next season or the season after. I really don't mind having Kieran Foran slot into 9, being a mentor for those guys. I don't think he's going to mind that too much either. Kieran Foran's obviously played a lot of 9 before for the Kiwis. And he's slotted in quite well there. He's defended very well there for the Kiwis on that international stage. Yes, NRL international stage, very different, but I feel like Kieran Foran could play that role. I really do think that he can suit that role well for the Gold Coast Titans. AJ, he slots into 7, the fast, enterprising football. AJ runs the right side. Jaden Campbell runs the left side. And Kieran Foran just provides that direction and counselling, the talk out of 9 and organises the team from there and can maybe slot into a 13 role throughout the game as well and organise a bit there and play sort of a third half sort of role, playing a bit more of a halfback sort of directional style of play, if that makes sense. But as I said, you're fitting all of the guys into your team. I think it could work. Let me know what you think in the comments. I know that I'm going to get pounded for it. I can just feel it. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section, because obviously there's a lot of talk about where AJ Brimson could end up. Centers was a failed experiment. I don't think he'll come off the bench with how much money he's on and the deal that he's on at the moment. I think that halfback could be the answer. Molding him into a halfback for the Titans with the style of footy that they play, I think it could really work well. Let us know your thoughts, though, in the comments section below. Let's go on to Clarkie's Rugby League column. We're going to get some more news and updates here. Let me just get it up. John Bateman. John Bateman has reportedly informed the Rabbitohs he's pulling out of negotiations with the club. The Cowboys have now emerged as the favourites for his signature. Look, to be honest, I never really thought that South Sydney were going to get John Bateman anyway. I thought that he was always going to either stay in the Super League or go somewhere else. It just doesn't seem like a happy marriage. I know that obviously it looks like Sammy Burgess might return in a coaching sort of capacity down the track, a little bit down the track there for South Sydney. But I just don't think it works. We've got a lot of back rowers at the moment, South Sydney. Adding another one to that headache, I just don't think works. I think that he's a little bit selfish in the way that he plays. He loves to have the big moments. He loves to get his hands on the football, which can be great. But for what South Sydney are trying to build, I just don't think his style of football suits the Rabbitohs. I'm not relieved, but I just don't think that would have been a happy marriage, John Bateman at the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I do feel like at the Cowboys, he'd slot in well there. To be honest, they've got a little bit of headaches around the back row position as well. Helam Lukey, Jeremiah Nanai. Luciano Leilua's up there as well. They've got their fair share of back rowers too. Kulakefe Funafuyaki's left the building and gone to the Dolphins, but they've still got fair few back rowers, in that team to fit in to the system as well. I don't think we will see John Bateman at the Cowboys. If we do, look, it'd be a decent signing. I think he'd be a decent signing for a lot of clubs. I just feel like he has a very selfish style of play. He loves the footy in his hands all the time. He loves to sort of get in and take control. And for a few sides in the competition, they just need their back rowers to play off what the team needs and what the team's doing. And John Bateman doesn't really seem to do that well. He loves to, as I said, get his hands on the football as much as he can. He's a great player, and at his best, he's fantastic. At Canberra, he was amazing. But I really don't think that it would be a happy marriage for a few clubs. I don't think it'd be a happy marriage for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Not sure the Cowboys need another back rower, but look, if it happens, it happens. And it'd be great for Johnny Bateman. For me, I think the best thing for John Bateman, obviously there's been a lot of requests to go back home to England to spend time with his family over there. I think that the best thing would honestly just to be to remain in the Super League, for a while, until they obviously sort out some things and maybe his family comes over to Australia. Don't know the situation. Can't comment on that too much, but maybe that's an option there to obviously stay over in the Super League until you can bring your family to Australia and obviously support them over here. So, look, as I said, I don't know the situation fully. Can't comment on it too much, but that's just my thoughts and opinion. Jock Madden. It's reported Jock Madden's management intends to reach out to Wayne Bennett and the Rabbitohs to assess if they are interested in signing him on an immediate move. Obviously, the Broncos have given Jock Madden a tap on the shoulder, saying that he is free to negotiate for an immediate deal somewhere else, which is huge. You look at the Broncos at the moment, obviously Adam Reynolds probably has 1 or 2 years left, in his NRL career. They're going to be looking for the next halfback very, very soon. Kobe Black could be that guy. Is he ready yet? I don't think so. But he certainly looked good. He looked a treat in that Queensland under-19s game and in the trials. There were some good moments from him there as well. He is still relatively young, 18, 19 years of age. So still got plenty of time to develop and become that guy, and hasn't even made his debut yet. So we don't even know what he's like in an NRL, arena. However, I think that, depending on how much longer Adam Reynolds has got, they can maybe make that work. But getting rid of Jock Madden, a guy that you could have had there in the interim, I think would be a pretty decent mistake, to be honest, for the Broncos. It means that if Adam Reynolds goes down this year, they've really only got Kobe Black to come in. You've obviously got Ben Hunt, who's probably going to have to be sitting in for Ezra Mam to start the season, depending on if he's out. I don't rate having Jock Madden leave. I think that's a pretty big call for the Broncos to make. From a South Sydney perspective, it is always great to have depth in the halves. A bit more depth in the halfback position, obviously after losing Dean Hawkins as well. But from a Broncos perspective, I think that could backfire on them big time, especially after Adam Reynolds and what that might look like for them, and if they do need a guy to stand in the interim. Leah Hapawade, the Seagulls have promoted Lehi Hapawade from a development deal into their top of 30. We saw this coming. Lehi, after the season that he had, I was shocked to find out that he was still in their development list. Great to see him get promoted to that top 30. They are also set to re-sign him on a long-term deal soon. It says you'll see the announcement soon about a long-term extension, said their CEO, Tony Mestrov. Love this. I think it's about time that you upgraded him. Surprised he wasn't upgraded halfway through the season. Not sure how all the rules behind that work, but great to see him get that deal upgraded there. Lehi Hapawade. Tevita Tola has run for the first time today in 8 months on an anti-gravity treadmill. He's recovering from a fractured foot that required surgery as the bone did not heal on its own. Great as a South fan to see that he's finally running. I don't think he's going to be back in time for round one. I think that he's still got a bit of a ways to go if he's still on the anti-gravity bike, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. And it'd be great to get all of these guys back that we had injured in the 2024 season as well, and what damage South Sydney can do with all of these guys back as well. And Tavita Totola, definitely a big part of that. Isaiah Yeo, Golden Boot, congratulations to him. Well deserved, really strong competitor there. Isaiah Yeo, love his work. I think that he thoroughly deserves that award. Was huge throughout the whole series. Tom Dearden had a great game 3, and there's a little bit of controversy around the fact that he didn't get it, but I certainly think that Isaiah Yeo, when you're looking at the whole tournament, he was probably the most consistent there. Ryan Papenhuyzen admits the Storm's initial long-term extension offer was disappointing. I remember hearing the initial offer and being a little bit disheartened by it, but understanding why. I think as Ryan Papenhuyzen, you'd probably have to understand, that the deal wasn't around the 800, 900K mark with obviously the injuries. And things like that. Hasn't played too much football. I think I played under 20 games or just over 20 games in the past 3 years. So I think as Ryan Papenhuyzen, you'd probably have to understand, I have no experience as an NRL player, as a manager in that NRL space, but you'd probably have to understand the deal might come down a little bit. But as I said at the start of the podcast, the 1-year deal does surprise me a little bit, and maybe they are planning to bring in Suafa'alongo as that long-term fullback. Ryan Papenhuyzen, 2027, he's got that option. Maybe he does go to the Bulldogs. We'll have to wait and see. There you go, guys. That is another news podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe down below. We'll see you guys in the next one.